the next generation of telecom technology, 5G, will bring about a communications revolution. The era of 5G is here in India. With the mega 5G spectrum auction ending, are you now wondering by when you'll be able to avail the service?
5G स्पेक्ट्रम की नीलामी सोमवार को हुई खत्म। 5G की नीलामी में अंबानी के जियो का जलवा। मुकेश अंबानी की कंपनी जियो ने अपनी सबसे अधिक बोली लगाई। इस नीलामी में कुल 1.5 लाख करोड़ रुपए की बोलियां लगी।
आई एम श्योर मेरी तरह आपको भी 5G का बहुत ज्यादा इंतजार है, राइट? एंड फाइनली 5G इज हियर, राइट? 15th of August को Reliance Jio is going to launch 5G network in India for the first time. So we all know that July के end में there was an auction, there was a bidding to buy 5G bands in India, right? And there were 4 participants in that. There was Reliance Jio, Airtel, Vodafone Idea and Adani Data Networks, right? And all of these companies placed bids to buy 5G bands in India. So as you can see on the screen, government collected over 1,50,170 crore rupees out of this auction, right? And Reliance Jio was the leader. Reliance Jio ने 88,000 crores की bidding की थी, followed by Airtel that placed a bid at 43,084 crores, then by Vodafone Idea at 18,799 crores, and at last there was Adani Data Networks that placed a bid of 212 crores, right? And I'm sure that definitely आप भी काफी excited होंगे इसके details जानने के लिए, right? तो आज के वीडियो में I'm going to tell you that why Reliance Jio is going to be the king of Indian 5G network, right? तो Reliance Jio is already the king of Indian telecom industry, right? जो 4G में जो revolution लाया था Reliance Jio ने, that made it the most widely used telecom company not only in India but globally, right? And the same thing is going to happen in 5G as well. And उसके काफी important reasons है why Jio is going to be the king of Indian 5G ecosystem. उसी के बारे में डिस्कस करने वाले आज के वीडियो में, राइट? सो हे गाइस, माय नेम इज सिद्धांत एंड वेलकम बैक टू न्यू वीडियो। सो लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द फर्स्ट पॉइंट एंड दैट इज क्या है मेजर डिफरेंस बिटवीन 4G एंड 5G, राइट? सो वी ऑल नो दैट 5G इज नथिंग बट 5th generation cellular network technology. So as you can see on the screen, this is the evolution of telecommunications industry. 1979 में first time there was 1G that was used for analog telecommunications. 1991 में there was 2G that was used for text messaging. 1998 में wireless internet was introduced for the first time and that was called 3G. 2008-2010 में there was 4G and finally in 2019, since 2019, the countries have been working on a technology that is currently called 5G. Finally, 15th of August 2022, 5G is finally coming to India on its 75th day of independence, right?
Reliance Jio is expected to launch its 5G network on the 75th Independence Day, that's August 15.
So what is the difference between 5G and 4G, right? So first main difference is that 5G is going to be 100 times faster than 4G, राइट? ये तो सब लोग को समझ में आता है कि 4G का जो इंटरनेट होगा उससे 100 टाइम्स फास्ट होगा, लेकिन द पीक डेटा रेट्स वुड गो अप टू 10 gigabytes per second, whereas the average data rates would be around 100 megabytes per second. The second important difference is that in 4G there was a latency of about 50 milliseconds, whereas in 5G the latency is going to be about 1 millisecond or even lesser than 1 millisecond, right? So this network is going to be damn fast, and ये network आप काफी सारी चीजों के लिए use कर सकते हो, like Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, smart vehicles, smart planes, smart trains, each and everything can be controlled by using 5G networks, right? And the third and last point is that 5G network can be more well spread across the country, right? 4G के लिए कुछ limitations थे जो 5G में नहीं है, and especially with a secret band जिसके बारे में मैं आगे के point में बात करने वाले हूँ, and that is why Reliance Jio is going to rule the 5G ecosystem, right? So therefore 5G will lead to exponential increase in the number of connections across the country, and जिसके वजह से people on internet are going to increase within the next 2 to 3 years, right? Now moving on to the second part of the video, and that is the most important part of the video, that why Reliance Jio is going to be the king of 5G ecosystem in India, right? So the first point is it's already widespread network that it created during the 4G, right? We all know that 4G में Reliance was the market leader, it was the market creator as well, and the ecosystem, the infrastructure, the subsurface cables that it laid during the inception of 4G is going to give it a head start, right? So approximately Reliance invested over 1.5 lakh crores, approximately 20 billion US dollars to set up this whole 4G infrastructure and laying around 250,000 kilometers of optic cables all across the country, right? And that is the reason it is the most efficient and it is the most widely used service across the country, right? And as per the latest records, Reliance Jio has the most number of subscribed users, not only just in India but across the world, right? It has over 410 million subscribed users across the country, right? Now moving on to the second point that will actually prove that why Reliance Jio is going to lead this race of 5G in India, right? And that is about the 700 megahertz band. This is the golden band, right, that Reliance Jio has, and that is going to make all the difference in creating Reliance Jio the king, the leader in the 5G ecosystem. Now what is this 700 megahertz band, right? तो इसके बारे में थोड़ा सा आराम से डिटेल में जानते, क्योंकि ये थोड़ा सा टेक्निकल भी है, लेकिन ये काफी इंपॉर्टेंट है, काफी इंटरेस्टिंग है आपको जानने के लिए कि क्या इकोसिस्टम क्रिएट होने वाला है 5G का, एंड क्यों रिलायंस जियो लीडर होने वाला है उस इकोसिस्टम में. सो बेसिकली ड्यूरिंग द ऑक्शन देयर वर मेनी बैंड्स दैट वर ऑन सेल बाय गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, राइट? 600 megahertz, 700 megahertz, 1800 megahertz, 3300 megahertz, and all of these bands were up for auction, and the companies were supposed to bid to buy these bands, right? 600 megahertz went unsold, but 700 megahertz was the band that was bought by Reliance Jio. 88,000 crores was the bid that was placed by Reliance Jio, and 39,000 crores were just spent on bidding for this band alone, right? 700 megahertz. क्या है ऐसे बैंड में जो 1800 मेगाहर्ट्ज या 3300 मेगाहर्ट्ज के बैंड में नहीं है, राइट? सो 700 मेगाहर्ट्ज बैंड इज आल्सो कॉल्ड एज sub gigahertz band, right? And sub gigahertz band means the band that is lesser than 1 gigahertz wavelength, right? And at present Reliance Jio is the only telecom company in India that owns it. अगर Airtel को future auctions में अगर खरीदना भी है, so it will have to pay a lot more amount of money during the next auction to buy 700, or even a lot more money to buy 600 megahertz to beat Reliance, right, at its game. There are other telecom operators as well, right, जिनके पास 800 900 megahertz के सब gigahertz बैंड भी है, लेकिन वो 4G इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में यूज होते हैं. 5G इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में सिर्फ एक ही कंपनी के पास एक ही सब gigahertz बैंड है, and that is Reliance Jio with a 700 megahertz band. Now what is the speciality about the 700 megahertz band? क्यों इतना इंपॉर्टेंट है 700 मेगाहर्ट्ज का बैंड? क्या स्पेशलिटी है सब गीगाहर्ट्ज बैंड? ना सब गीगाहर्ट्ज बैंड्स आर एक्चुअली वेरी वेल नोन फॉर नॉट great speed, like not very fast speed, but for a very wide coverage, right? So 700 megahertz band is going to give a good speed for Reliance Jio. It is going to give a good speed, not as great as the upper gigahertz band जो 1.8 gigahertz के बैंड है या फिर 3.3 gigahertz के बैंड्स है, लेकिन what it is going to give Reliance Jio is that it is going to give a wide coverage, right? It is very useful for densely populated areas, and it is also very useful to cover a widespread area in any country, right? So it can provide larger speeds by using other bands that are above gigahertz, right? That is 1800 megahertz, that is 1.8 gigahertz band, 3300 megahertz, that is 3.3 gigahertz band. Lekin for wide coverage, it can also use 700 megahertz, that is with no one else in this country. Now the benefits of owning a 700 megahertz band is that first, wide coverage, but that is because each tower of 700 megahertz band can give connectivity to a radius of around 6 to 10 kilometers, right? And Reliance has over 3.5 lakh towers. लेकिन due to this 700 megahertz band wide coverage area, रिलायंस को 3.5 लाख टावर्स में से सिर्फ 1 लाख टावर्स ही अपग्रेड करने पड़ेंगे, बाकी के 2.5 लाख टावर्स रिलायंस कैन मैनेज, राइट?
This is a band where you can get speeds of up to 900 Mbps for a few blocks and works both indoors and outdoors. The best part about this band is the fact that no new infrastructure is really needed, and telecom companies and hardware providers can tweak this existing 4G infrastructure for this.
Whereas with Bharti Airtel or with Vodafone, they will have to upgrade a lot more, or in fact majority of their towers, if they want to spread this 5G technology across the country, right? And of course Reliance Jio is going to take this 700 megahertz to all the 22 telecom cities in India, right? It is going to cover all the 22 telecom circles, and that is going to help it gain the initial 2 to 3% of the market share very quickly ahead of all the other people, right?
Whereas Jio has actually finished planning its 5G coverage in the top 1,000 cities across the country, and 22 Indian cities will receive the Jio 5G network first.
And in cities like Kolkata, Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai, where it is very densely populated, जहाँ पे indoor network भी काफी strong लगता है, plus it is very densely populated, वहाँ पे 700 megahertz is going to be the game changer, because the indoor connectivity is going to be better with the 700 megahertz band. So looking at all advantages and benefits, we can definitely see that why this 700 megahertz band is so useful, that Reliance Jio paid 39,270 crores just for this single band alone, right? So the speed, scale and social impact that Jio's 4G had was unmatched, right? And that is the same thing that is going to happen in the 5G ecosystem. Now moving on to the cost of 5G network, right? We all know that 5G is 100 times faster than 4G. Lekin is 5G also going to be very much expensive than 4G, right? It has to be affordable if you have to create a widespread network across the country, or else people won't be able to afford, right? Lekin the cost of 5G is not going to be very high than 4G, right? Initially, for the initial 6 to 12 months, price of the 5G may be about 10 to 12% premium than 4G. But in the future, after a year or a year and a half, the prices would be equal, right? So 5G and 4G would come at same price after like 12 to 18 months, right? And that is because the companies would see a higher amount of ARPU, that is average revenue per user, due to 5G, right? Companies का average revenue per user बहुत increase होने वाला है after 5G comes into the market, right? क्योंकि data consumption बहुत ज़्यादा increase होने वाला है. Now to understand कि एवरेज रेवेन्यू पर यूजर कैसे इंक्रीज होगा, डेटा कंजम्पशन कैसे इंक्रीज होगा, उसके लिए हमें थोड़ी सी फाइनेंशियल नॉलेज चाहिए कि टेलीकॉम कंपनीज का रेवेन्यू मॉडल, बिजनेस मॉडल कैसे काम करता है. सो लेट्स हैव अ लुक एट द रेवेन्यू मॉडल और द वे ऑफ मेकिंग मनी जो टेलीकॉम कंपनीज यूज करते हैं, राइट? सो द मेन रेवेन्यू मॉडल फॉर एनी टेलीकॉम कंपनी इज to increase the average revenue per user, right? So the data that you buy from them gives them the major share of revenue, right? And that plays a very important role. Just to take Reliance Jio as an example, just 10 to 15% of the Reliance Jio's 4G network is used for calling. 85 to 90% of the network is used just for data consumption, right? And therefore that gives a higher average revenue per user. That was approximately, I guess, 154 rupees. Was the ARPU for Reliance Jio in the 4G, right? And that is set to increase by more 50 to 70 rupees, and that will go into the range of 225 to 250 rupees average revenue per user, right, for Reliance Jio. And therefore, what companies are targeting is that they are targeting a volume-driven growth rather than tariff-driven growth, right? So जो भी लोग कहते हैं कि Reliance Jio के plans काफी cheap है, Reliance Jio काफी cheap service provide करता है, काफी affordable service provide करता है, लेकिन अगर आप देखो, लेकिन जब आप उस सर्विस को एज अ प्लान देखते हो तब वो कॉस्ट काफी ज्यादा होती है, राइट? आप अगर पर यूनिट देखोगे, सिर्फ आप अगर डेटा को देखोगे पर यूनिट वाइज, तो काफी चीप लगता है. लेकिन रिलायंस जो 10 रुपए का, 15 रुपए का, 20 रुपए का तो रिचार्ज बेचता नहीं है, राइट? इट सेल्स इट्स प्लान्स ऑन मंथली बेसिस, राइट? क्वार्टरली बेसिस, 3 महीने का, 4 महीने का, 5 महीने का, राइट? सो व्हेन यू लुक एट इट एज अ प्लान, द अमाउंट ऑफ कंजम्पशन गोज कंसिडरेबली हाई, राइट? इट वाज अबाउट 20 GB per person per month in India, right? And that gives Reliance Jio a good amount of revenue, because that increases the average revenue per user. So guys, that is the main reason that Reliance Jio is going to rule this 5G ecosystem in India, and it is going to gain the initial 2-3% of the market share very quickly ahead of all other counterparts like Airtel and Vodafone, right? So guys, that's it for today's video. I hope आपको आज का वीडियो knowledgeable लगा हो and ज़्यादा confusing नहीं लगा होगा. And आपके क्या thoughts है इसके बारे में? आप कौन सी कंपनी का नेटवर्क यूज करते हो, या फिर आपको क्या लगता है कौन सी कंपनी लीड करेगी इंडिया में? आप वो जरूर नीचे कमेंट सेक्शन में बता सकते हो. So if you like the video, then do like the video, share, comment, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to receive the latest notifications of my videos on time. And I'll see you in the next video. Till then, goodbye. Take care. Thank you.